Hey guys, steveo here for Movies and TVs on the Ball. I recently did a video about the Addams Family movie with Raul Julia, and I realized, and I also talked about the pilot episode for the 60s show. And Jay and I will, down the road, probably cover the Flintstones with John Goodman and talk about that film because it's 31 years old and I wanted to kind of take a look at it. But it got me thinking about the films, Addams that came out in the 90s that were films based on 60s and 70s TV shows. Ironically speaking, we're now looking at films or TV shows that have been in the 80s and 90s, and they're making movies of that. Kind of a role reversal, kind of that. But I do remember the film that I probably haven't seen that you've noticed is probably Beverly Hillbillies. I haven't watched that, but I do know that Beverly Hillbillies and Little Rascals were directed by the same director. I watched, Addams Family movie. I feel like it's maybe been the best one out of these, except for the Flintstones. But I feel like the Flintstones really have a love for the relationship with the Flintstones. Dennis the Menace, I feel like, was a pretty good film. I think Walter Matthau played a great Mr. Wilson. I thought it worked out really great. And the Little Rascals, they were kind of Little Rascals for the 90s. I know that the Little Rascals kind of came out in the 60s in the TV series, and they were more... I never really watched it, but from the film version of it, I really liked I think they all brought something. You had the kid that played Nicky in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was in that film. You had Bug Hall, who was kind of a real good name at the time. You had the guy that played Winston was in Full House. So a lot of these they kind of showed up in a lot of 90s television shows. There was a cameo with Whoopi Goldberg. But I've noticed that, especially Addams Family and Beverly Hillbillies, there was always sort of a villain that wanted to steal their fortune or something like that. I know in both Addams Family and Addams Family Values, there's sort of a man and woman, and a woman want to steal the thing. Kind of in the same way, there's a bad guy in the Flintstones as well. And of course, Christopher Lloyd, who was Uncle Fester in Addams Family, was also the villain, the robber villain in Dennis the Menace. But how would you rank the 60s TV shows based on film? Do you feel like, I feel like Addams Family and the Flintstones might be my top two, because I feel like Addams Family actually had two sequels with Addams Family Reunion with Tim Curry. And I feel like the Flintstones, I think, like I've mentioned before, I think John Goodman was born to play Fred Flintstone. And then you've got Wild Wild West, which I did not know it was based on a television series. And this film had, I think, Loveless in the television series was more of a kind of evil villain, not as he was in Wild Wild West. I think, it was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who also directed Addams Family. I feel like, that film really was okay. I kind of liked it in 1999. Of course, this is the film that Will Smith got that took on the role for this film that he turned down The Matrix for, which he's been kicking himself for the last 26 years. So there's that. I do kind of I think I would like to know what your thoughts are on Wild Wild West. So as a Western, as the television series goes, in the comments below. Let me know which film do you like the best. Rank them. Let me know if you think Flintstones was the best, Addams Family was second, Addams Family was first. Whichever works for you. Let me know what your thoughts are on the 60s television shows that became movies in the 90s. I'm Steve. As always, like and subscribe, and see you at the movies. Bye.